productivity. And I think a return to those sorts of values, kitchen table values, pocketbook values when it comes down to people. And if you frame issues like Medicare for all in terms of, there are going to be some more taxes, but then on the other hand, you're not going to have to pay $1,000 a month to the insurance company, and that's where it gets into the balance, because you're going to get better service, and two, you're not even going to pay as much money as you would to one of these companies. And focusing on those strategically and engaging in a full-throated way on social media, using actual young people who know how to use the medium properly, I think it could be done. I guess I don't have the faith that is the direction that they really want to go. They seem to be adrift, and at this point, at any rate, I don't see it coalescing around a particular set of values. I literally do see them at this point as a party without a platform.
Well, I think they have a platform, but I think that it's stronger on the social issues than the economic issues.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think that's fine. I think that's fine with their donors.
And I think the party's also divided on foreign policy too.
It is.
I was surprised. I watched a lot of focus groups in 2022 that consisted of swing voters, people who'd voted for Biden in 2020 and weren't sure which party they were going to vote for in 2022, or switched from Trump to Biden, one or the other. And I was surprised about how many people talked about why are we spending so much money on Ukraine and not at home. I think that's going to be a sleeper issue in 2024. I expect that Trump is going to say, like Eisenhower did, or Nixon in 1968, he's not going to bring the troops home, but I'm going to settle this within a month and, wait and see. And I'm for helping the Ukrainians, but I'm telling you, as a political thing, I think that's a problem. And I think the Democrats are very divided on that.
I think so. I think, regardless of, what you think of his views, he's got, more consistent and consolidated views in a way than does the Democratic Party. And I think that is something to be, very aware of, because in so many respects, he is a very dangerous possibility in terms of, becoming president again.
And just to go back to Biden, I would give him a lot of credit for what he's done and the legislation that he's passed. Reorienting economic policy about making things in the United States, discouraging companies from moving abroad in search of lower wages or less regulation, his support for unions, all those kind of things. But the problem is that inflation is overriding those. Inflation is just a killer issue for politicians.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Inflation has. I think Biden has been very disappointing on a lot of the things he promised. I mean, he brought up an increase in the minimum wage during the campaign. He didn't. It was supposed to be. So, I don't know. I mean, you look at employment, and while numbers are certainly good, I mean that's in the context of what employment numbers are and what we understand actual employment and actual, money going to individuals and working people actually means. It often means, 3 or 4 jobs and much more time spent for much less actual money. So while the numbers in certain limited respects look good, I think that it is important to listen to the kind of working folks that used to be the core of the Democratic Party, and not just say to them, "Hey, look, these numbers look good," but understand that people are struggling to get by, regardless of what the unemployment numbers say, and regardless of the what I believe are the kind of limited number of successes on the part of Biden. I think that he promised much more than he delivered, and I think that people who are struggling every day to get by are going to remember that. and it's really critical right now because what people say about Trump and what I say about Trump all the time on this show is very dangerously true. Like, Trump cannot get back into office again. That is a real, actual fear. But on the other hand, I think we have to acknowledge that Biden has been disappointing to very many people, and we have to grapple with that reality and not just pretend that Biden has been universally successful. There are many people that are suggesting, he should step aside. Again, as I said at the top, I don't think he's going to do it. But I really have fears that, especially if you look at the numbers that recently came out from the New York Times and Siena in the battleground states, that he is very, very vulnerable. And unfortunately, I don't think that what happened in Ohio or Kentucky necessarily changes that, because you have specific things on the ballot as opposed to a specific individual like Biden. So I think there's an uphill climb. And I think that's unfortunate for the Democratic Party, and I wish that I saw more in terms of where the Democrats are actually going and what they're coalescing towards, because to me, it still seems very nebulous.
I think you're being much too hard on Biden. I think that he has a lot of his problems are as a public figure and as a king as opposed to a prime minister. You think of what the kind of majority that Bill Clinton had in 1993 and Obama had in 2009. Huge majorities. I mean, Obama, cloture-proof. He could have got labor law reform. Biden has 50-50. I mean, it's a miracle what he got accomplished, in my opinion. And a lot of the infrastructure bill, a lot of the Inflation Reduction Act is aimed at these left-behind communities that before the Democrats neglected. There's a lot of little provisions there about wages that'll help people. He couldn't get the union stuff in there because of Manchin. So again, I think he's done remarkably well behind the scenes, but he's crippled in two ways. First, the inflation thing cancels a lot of that out. And secondly, his image as a public figure, the American Constitution has this peculiar thing to it that the president serves both as king and prime minister. And Biden, fine as prime minister, but as king, he's just an abysmal failure, and it's not his fault, but he appears doddering. People want a strong father figure. They want somebody dynamic, and I think it's particularly hurting him with young voters. And it is. I think that's a real.
You're right. I think that contributes to it in a big way. Although I think while we would be covering up some of the problems if we had, say, a Newsom in place, we'd be dealing with a lot of the same economic.
We'd be dealing with different problems, but problems nonetheless.
Well, they wouldn't be
whatever you call it.
They wouldn't be messaging problems so much as they would be like the fundamentals. And while I think you're right that young people definitely see a doddering individual. Fundamentally, I don't have any problems with, I don't see Biden's issue as being that he doesn't have it together. I mean, yeah, he's a little slower than he used to be, but I think he's fundamentally got what he needs and the connections that he needs and the wherewithal and focus to run the country. I don't see that as an issue. I know many people do, and
you don't, but but unfortunately, voters do.
Yeah, no, you're right. Voters do, and I think a lot of young people, in addition to that, the visualization, they also see that it is very hard to get by from day to day, and they don't have a consistent helping hand in that way, which I think that Biden should be, providing more of. And yeah, I am hard on Biden, but I think we have to expect a lot from our leaders. I personally I don't see enough coming through, and I want to see the Democrats, maybe not the Democrats of yore, but maybe the Democrats with a spirit of yore in terms of the working class and and unions and engagement on that level coming through. And I guess I see more of it from people who aren't necessarily talking about the Democratic Party per se than I am from the party itself. And I wish we could get an injection of spirit from that direction, because I think it would do the party a lot of good.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it's going to come from. I mean, to be honest, I think the Republicans have a stronger bench than the Democrats.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely right, unfortunately. I mean, the Republicans have their own problem, and the Democrats have been running to such an extent on those problems, I mean, which are very real and very dangerous. But I think they need to bring something to the table themselves, which, as far as I can tell, they don't have in proliferation at the moment.
Yeah, if I can make this a kind of a weird point about it, the Democratic Party has served as a kind of engine of social mobility for groups. You think about the Irish and culminating in John Kennedy. This century, women, again, Hillary Clinton, blacks, Obama, Hispanics, mostly, again, people who are lawyers, professionals, don't necessarily see the other side of the tracks. Republicans, on the other hand, have for the most part come from the wealthier part of society, and so they see better, in a sense, that they have to track people who are not like them. So you get a guy who's gone to a Yale Law School, like Vance, or Hawley. He went to Stanford, and real fancy education. But then he's wearing cowboy boots and speaking in the vernacular and going after the working class vote and saying things and doing things to attract them. Yeah. Whereas you get, again, Hillary Clinton, the Yale Law School, doesn't pay any attention to what's happening in Michigan, Wisconsin, workers in Pennsylvania, and loses the election. So do you see what I'm saying? I mean, it's
sad. They know what they should be doing. They understand that they should be going after
they knew
those
what
folks.
They were not.
Yeah,
I mean, the classic was 1988 when George H.W. Bush, son of a senator and Yale, Landover. Starts eating pork rinds in New Hampshire and whatever. But I mean, and Lee Atwater runs for him a campaign that's absolutely meant to appeal to people who are not like him.
Yes. Dukakis didn't have enough people in the tank for him. That's the problem.
Yes, exactly. That's right.
As an inside joke for those of us who remember the 1988 presidential campaign. You're right. They have a sense of what they should be doing, and I wish that the Democratic Party had that same vital sense. And there was a quote from, I think it was Citizen Kane, where what Boss Getty said, you're going to have more than one lesson here, and you're going to need more than one lesson. And I think that, unfortunately, there will be some electoral turbulence. I pray that it will not be on the presidential level before the ship of the Democratic Party is righted, because at the moment it seems desperately off course, at least from my perspective. John Judis, again, is the co-author with Rui Teixeira of Where Have All the Democrats Gone? The Soul of the Party in the Age of Extremes. John, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, a really good conversation, and thank you so much for being with us today on Facepalm America.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for being with us today on Facepalm America. I want to thank Ace Elson and Rosabelle Hine for producing this program. They do an excellent job on every show. Again, go to facepalmamerica.com for more episodes and to connect with us on social media. Please share this episode with a friend. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher and wherever else you can do that. And until next time, enjoy the day.